techno term from Apple Music.
Now, if you know this song, you're about as old as I am. Good morning, everyone. It is 6:32. It is July 11th. It is only Tuesday. Sorry for being a little late. My name is Scott Redler. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. You know what? I got to play this for 1 second. It's the disclosure. There you go. And now we'll go back to the chart. Hope everyone's feeling well. Yeah. I'll tell you. I grew up on Long Island in Sasset, and yesterday I told you guys I had the Prez outing, which is an outing that we've done for 20 years because my friend died of leukemia, and it's great to see a lot of people. But part of the whole thing is I go and I see my friend's house, and then I drive home back here in the morning. The Long Island Expressway is friggin' crazy. I haven't been on that since I was a wild. Long Island Expressway to the Thrives Neck Bridge, to the George Washington Bridge, to the Turnpike South, trucks everywhere. Woo! Anyway, you know, my dad always said, you know, you go out with the boys, you got to wake up like a man and get to work. So if you can't get to work after going out with the boys, you shouldn't be out that late. But anyway, here we are. Yesterday, I'll tell you, it was a pretty crazy day. You know, a lot of people were talking about the big rebalance. And, you know, if you haven't heard, which I'm sure, you know, by now that's probably all over everywhere, they're saying that, you know, what's up, Elmore? You know Long Island Expressway. What's up, Connecticut? You know, the big seven that have been crowding the NASDAQ, you know, where a lot of money's been, you know, hyper-focused to keep these markets up, are being rebalanced for the 24th. Okay, right now it's only July 11th. So sometimes they start doing it prior, so then when everyone thinks they're going to be doing it on the 24th, they've already done it already. So I think there was a big sell program, you know, just to get some of the higher percentages out of there. And the money went to other places, some of the other sectors that everyone's been talking about that has to happen for a healthier market regardless. So we'll see what develops here. Some charts are, you know, other charts are starting to look a little bit better, so you have to start looking elsewhere. You know, money does rotate, things change, so, you know, you don't want to be left in the dust. Yes, IWM was pretty good yesterday. They had to give you one little brushback pitch, making it seem like it wasn't last week, and then yesterday, actually Friday, it woke up a little bit. We'll get to that chart. What's up, Massapequa? There you go. But we'll see. You know, I'm not going to get overly, you know, stretched, and until I really feel like, you know, you can get paid to sit in things, paid to manage things, paid to use your tier system. We've been able to do that with tech and high beta tech literally for 3-4 months. So now, you know, we'll see how it goes. But all in all, you know, if you look at the SPYs, you know, not the end of the world. Remember, we were talking about perhaps a retest of the 431 area, which was the August high. So we broke above the August high, went to 430, came in, retested it, wasn't quite strong enough to get above it, and now it's consolidating. You know, it's still above the 21-day, which should, you know, remember yesterday I'm like, we hold 437. So even as crazy as yesterday felt, we still held last week's low, and we're still above the 21-day, which has been a very strong trend. And, you know, everyone's just trying to, you know, shake and bake a little bit, right? You look at the Qs, let's see what that did. Probably a different story. Oh, look at that. Qs kind of held the trend line. I had to leave yesterday at 10:30 to head out to the outing. So some of these charts might look a little bit odd, you know, because I didn't, you know, do my recap at the end of the day like I always do. But anyway, so this held where it had to. Went a little bit below last week's low, but came back up, reclaimed it. We talk about the power of reclaiming levels, right? If something's going to be really, really weak, it's got to get below and stay below, and then you see some pressure. If it gets below and they shake you out and then it reclaims it, it shows you that that direction doesn't have that much power. So you have to, you know, just go with the flow a little bit. So anyway, here are the Qs. The Qs look, you know, Qs look fine. You know, here's your new point of reference right here. Yesterday, in the first 30 minutes of the day, tech gave you a lot of new points of reference as I got stopped out of a few positions. But I reduced risk last week because last week felt a little odd when you had that three candle here actually. When you had these three candles that looked like this gap was going to hold, and then the gap changed, right? I have this little here when there's gaps. Well, there was a gap here, and then it's gone. Anyway, so it's no longer something that could help be useful. So anyway, IWM, yes. IWM had to go from the top end of the range to the bottom end of the range to show you that it still wasn't ready. And then all of a sudden, it did get a little stronger on Friday, and yesterday had a pretty solid day. So all in all, the small caps, still look better than they have. And, if you look overall, if you feel like you've missed something, you really didn't, considering that, you have this descending trend line here, just got above it, and it's trying to get better. So perhaps, it'll get above this 189 to 188 area, and then there's room to like 199. If you want to look at the weekly chart, just, sometimes it's better to get a perspective. This is when it broke down here, and now it's, it's looking pretty tight. It gets above this 189. You could see this area in the small caps, and if that's the case, I love it when little names start giving you a day one and you see some follow through and you could be with things. So we'll see how that goes. The XLE, okay, is getting tight again. This is actually the weekly chart. Look how tight the XLE is. It's been in a range after, having a strong move. Here is when it broke down and retest, and I think you can see it a little bit easier on the daily chart. Seems like the XLE, which has been, gave you a little bit of a breakdown. Friday was strong, inside day. I think if you wanted to be long the XLE and quantify your risk, you'd be long versus just say 80-50-ish. This is 80-65. So there are some names in there. Oxy I bought yesterday. If Buffett's buying it, he's been accumulating it. It's been in this range for a long time. Look how tight that is. Perhaps Oxy is something that could wake up. So I started to nibble on that yesterday. My buddy, who's been in the business a long time, said he loves Hess. Hess, look at that, above the moving averages right here. That's pretty tight. So maybe some of these energy names. I did talk about, Lucid and NEO the other day, because Tesla was real strong. Tesla did fill the gap. So I got stopped out of the stock yesterday. I got stopped out early in the morning. I got stopped out before, when it went from green to red. Some guys actually got short. I didn't get short. It did fill this gap. I still think it's, it's not game over here for Tesla. It just lost some momentum and money rotated. If you remember, like a month ago, I was like, I think Rivian's going to play catch up. And, look at the size of this move in Rivian. We did really well going out and buying options like a month out. I remember playing it here. I lost money in the stock, and then all of a sudden did really well in the options because, after shaking you out, it did better. So I was like, you know what, maybe LCID, could play some catch up, just because, somebody told me that on the West Coast is actually a dealership or a store or whatever they have right next to a Tesla dealership. And in the Short Hills Mall, they also have a store with them. And then, what was it, Aston Martin? What's it called? Licensed their technology. So I'm like, the stock's been left for dead. I know they did a bunch of money raises. So I'm like, guys, what we could do is I gave you guys this whole little strategy here that you could buy the $8 calls for 2 weeks out and for a month out. That why can't this thing see the 200-day, which is right here? So, and that's just right there. It was last time when it looked like the Saudis were coming in and went to 1781. And if you go back to the weekly chart, which I did show you guys also, just to give you guys a little perspective, this thing was this was 57 and 37 before it broke, so now it's just like poking its head up here. So I figured, I'm in the stock also. I figured maybe you could just go out 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and make some money there. Some guys yesterday said there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about FSR, and look at that one. It woke up a little bit. So maybe some of the the EV. It's spreading, like they're taking some money out of the ones that have a huge for ones that have been left for dead. I didn't buy this one, but I looked at it. I'm like, I don't want to buy like 100 of these little EV names, because then, just sometimes if you have too much, it could mess you up a little bit. But I did go with Lucid. I started last week, and I also bought back NEO because China's getting better. And look how nice NEO looks. NEO's probably going to get to the 200-day first. You know, when Baba wakes up, some Chinese names wake up, and Baba woke up a bit. You know, I got to give it to Pootie. Pootie was all over this with him and his friends. You know, and then you have, remember the Gap book? Well, here's your new Gap, and now I guess we'll see what happens here if Baba goes, sideways to perhaps, take this out. Does this mean like the move in Apple's over or Microsoft is over? It just means that, maybe they need to be in a consolidation phase for a little bit and not just going to be the ones to go to. Like I got stopped out of Apple yesterday. Why? Because it broke below 189.21. Remember, I bought it back here on the 8th day, and now it's below the 8th day. Hey, but it held the 21 day, which has been a very, very strong trend. So it just means that, hey, maybe it needs a little bit more time. It's not as fast. So we'll see. That's what moving averages help you do. They give you points of reference, to let you know the speed of a movement. Something's above the 8th day and it keeps holding the 8th day and going. Short's a trap, momentum's fast. If it breaks the 8th day, it means it might be slowing down a little bit, and then you want to see if it holds a 21 day. And then here's like the big 50 day, which would mean, a bigger correction. And it is July 11th. We have earnings season coming up. Expectations are high. I know I haven't, here's my iPhone. I think I've had it for 2 years and haven't needed to change it up. But I do get charged about $100 a month for things. But anyway, thoughts on the special rebalance? Well, it's the 24th. Right now it's July 11th. They definitely did a little bit yesterday. I'm not like a rebalance guy. Like there are guys that make a living that get the sheets and they're looking at the ads, the subtractions, and sometimes it's very helpful. Sometimes they do it, prior, and then you think they're going to do it the week of, and then they've already done it, and then you're playing for it and it doesn't work. So I would just say, let's see how the action plays out. Tomorrow's a CPI. I think that should be the focus. Is disinflation really happening? And it's happening so fast that all of a sudden everyone's going to start talking about, a recession in the next 6 to 9 months, or is it going to be more of like a normalization? Normalization would be good, right? If we could have 5.25 rates, and have a 2% GDP, and a decent stock market where we just consolidated for 2 years and, we get action like we've had for 3-4 months. Can't complain about that. Unemployment is low. They keep adding jobs. There's 8 million jobs open, right? What did JOLTS tell us? 8.8 million jobs open. So, all in all, you can't complain too much. The only ones who are complaining are probably the ones who are oversleeping, not prepared, not taking accountability for putting themselves in position, to win across the board. I talk about 7 different accounts, right? So if you have a job, you got to make sure you max out your 401k. What does that mean? Hey, maybe you have one less dinner a week. If you have a son or a daughter or a ferry, no, I'm kidding. You should start at 529 when they're young. Monthly money, because these astronomical goddamn university costs. We got to do something about that. But if you can't do anything about it, you got to save for it. Unless your kid's going to be 6'10", which Chase is 5'8". What does that mean? Maybe he gets a scholarship, but don't plan on him getting a scholarship. You're better off 529, and then if you trade for a living. I feel like a little off today. I didn't get up early. I didn't do my sauna. I didn't go on my cold plunge. First day in a while, so I'm going to do that at lunch because I was driving home from the golf outing. I showed you guys a little picture of that Ferrari. That was pretty cool. But anyway, I'm a little tired. At 6:46, I got to catch up on some charts. Right now, again, not so bad overall with the whole big rebalance. SPY still hung in there. So as long as, we continue to consolidate, chances are maybe there's another move. Tom Lee saying there's a 100-handle move coming after Wednesday to the upside because of a light CPI. So that's keeping, I guess, some shorts on their toes and keeping people thinking. I wouldn't take everything for what it's worth. Maybe you want to do some kind of option play into Wednesday. It's a binary event. It can go either way. All I know is I still see gas at $3.55 at the Wawa. So gas has coming. It's not $5, but it's not back at $2.75. I know flights are still expensive. I know supermarket bills are still expensive. So I don't know how much inflation has come down to cause that. But as long as it's heading in the right direction, we'll get there at some point. I'm not in the 2% inflation camp. I don't think the world could it's ever going to go back to 2%. But maybe at some point 2.5 to 3% will be normal if the GDP could stay at 2, whatever. I'm not going to try and talk like I'm an economist. All I know is here we are. We held last week's low. We're above the 21 day. Some money rotated. Some things made it easier to hold than others. All in all, Meta still hanging around here. Held the 8-day. It's above this trend. Couldn't get above 298.12. Maybe in the next day or so it will. NVIDIA is still hanging around, still playing with the 8-day above the 21-day. Can't, it's not like these things are falling apart, but you just got to be a little bit more careful. And if the money does rotate, we'll have other names and we'll try and focus on them. Oh, some software names look pretty good. Like look at ServiceNow. Look at that chart. That chart looks pretty damn good. Holding here, nice move, bull flag. That might continue. Even though CRM, I don't make really much money there. CRM is pretty tight. Last time I tried it here, it hurt. Every time I try and buy CRM, it's usually the tail end of a rally, but that looks pretty good. Twilio back in the day was a great stock, and now it seems like it's kind of tight here again coming in. So maybe again you have to like Who Moved My Cheese, right? You ever read that book? Means that you don't want to get caught in the what happens when the mouse goes in the trap. You don't want to be in the trap. Anyway, CVNA. Wow, look at that move. Well, this stock was left for dead. They thought this was a bankruptcy, and now look at this move. Wow, pretty nice move. What's it doing this morning? It's up another 36 cents. Just don't get too caught up. But again, some of these names that were in Pluto have had to move off the lows. But look, that was your 8 and 21 day. That's when you should have got out of this. At 280, it broke. If you look at the weekly chart, then it was below the 8-day this entire time, and now it's it's working its way back. Someone want to ask me where could it go? Well, this went to here. This was August of last year. Wow, this was last year, August. So there is some room there. So be careful just shorting it. And again, don't get over your skis with too much size. Anyway, I got to jump. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Babbling a little bit today, a little hungover. It happens. 20 years. My friend missed a lot. Your number can get called at any time. So make sure you're having a good time with your family, your friends, and you're enjoying life with a good perspective. Don't be so negative. Doesn't do anyone any good, and it doesn't do you any good. I'll see you guys later.